And welcome back, guys, to another episode of Katawa Shoujo. In the last part, Hanako asked us to get her some groceries while we take Lily down. I don't know. Do you guys think that Hanako's crafty and she's just getting us to spend more time together? You never know. She could be. You never know. But at the same time, she wants to take her studies seriously, so it's good that we're helping both of our friends out. Am I right? But anyway, let's continue on with our little walk back to the dorms with Lily. In the end, she just has Hanako and me, and Akira when she's off from work. Be that as it may, she still seems to have many more distant friends among the students, not to mention people like Yuko. It seems to be her own choice that there's such a separation between those who are close to her and those she only socializes with. It humbles me a little to see how much Lily seems to have her life set up and going, just as she wants. Yet Hanako is there for her to celebrate her birthday, and I'm here helping her with shopping. It's weird. It's a weird kind of symbiosis, I suppose. Are you all right, Hisao? I'm sorry? You just seem to go very quiet, that's all. Sorry. I was just thinking. Oh? And now I've piqued her curiosity. It feels kind of overly personal to talk about, though. Tell her the truth or avoid the subject. I don't see why we would avoid the subject. That seems like a bad choice. You know, like, the one thing that she's always said is, she seems very upfront and open, and I don't see why we shouldn't tell the truth. I guess technically it is kind of embarrassing. We were thinking about it. Thinking about her and her directness and stuff, so, alright. Let's just tell the truth. I don't see why we wouldn't. It was just kind of... I was thinking about how you seem to have everything so sorted out, even with Hanako relying on you. I can admit that even I kind of relied on you when I first transferred in. I think it's a good quality to have. I turned to Lily, surveying her reaction. She forces herself to look forward and furrowing her brow quite a bit. Her face looks a bit awkward, as if she was trying to find just the right words. Lily? I would thank you, but assuming that I don't rely on the presence of others is too much. It would be wrong to think that Hanako simply depends on me with nothing in return. She seems to have a bit of trouble saying it, even though it's largely what I'd thought already. If she tries so hard to maintain her independence, as anyone would have to in her position, cited or not, maybe she finds it hard to talk about her own needs. I can relate to that. Holy crap. I can relate to that feeling. I bet you a lot of us can. It's only now that I realize an omission in what she says, though. I decide to follow it up, largely in jest to avoid anything getting too personal. Oh, and what about me? She suddenly runs ahead of me and turns, blocking me off. With a smile, she holds her hands behind her as she leans forward. You're different. And with that, she turns back and continues to walk ahead of me, a newfound spring in her step. All I can do is raise an eyebrow and give a dazed grin. I don't think I've ever seen this playful and teasing side of her before. So, I'm different. It's hard to work out the exact context, but knowing her, this ambiguity was intended. Our relationship has been changing, at the very least simply because I've begun to stand on my own feet more and started getting more curious about the situation of those around me. As to why, probably a mix of personal curiosity and a want to try and work out how to deal with my situation. I'm less sure of Lily, though. That's why her own statement, so similar to my own feelings towards her, throws me off so much. Watching her make her way up the street, cane tapping from left to right, I decide to settle the matter later and just smile. This is a nice side of her, and I don't want to forget it. Aww. Yeah, no, if we had avoided that subject, she would be really, really pissed at us. Plus, you know, we got to learn how she feels about little Hisao here. Yeah? Eventually, we get to the girls' dormitory, both my arms aching from the weight of 2 sets of groceries. We're finally here. Whew. I bend down to wipe my forehead with the back of my hand. Lily stops in front of her door and sets down her bag, fishing around in her pocket for the key. Thank you, Hisao. I really appreciate your help. It's nothing. It might be nothing to you, but it's definitely something for me. And with that, she steps through her door, closing it behind her. I blink. Those were nothing but honest thanks, but I can't help feeling something different about them. Anyway, I have something else to do before I mull over that at my leisure. I turn back to the door to Hanako's room and proceed to knock twice in quick succession, the bag still in hand, rustling together. Oh. Like, why would she open the door full kilter? Like, A, you should never do that. Never open the door full kilter to somebody, but it's just sort of like, oh god, I've scared the shit out of her. After a couple of seconds, the door slowly opens. If one weren't looking closely, they could be forgiven for thinking it hasn't moved at all. I twist my head to the side to try and peer through the tiny sliver of a gap between the door and the door frame. Hey, Hanako, I've got your stuff. Ah! With that, she opens the door completely, making her plain room visible over her shoulder. Sparsely decorated, it's probably even more unremarkable than my room. I hold out my right arm, both bags almost pulling it straight back down with their weight. Thank you, Hisao. I'm sorry to make you carry them all this way. It's fine, don't worry. Just don't make me do it every day, okay? I pass the bag to her, and I give a light-hearted chuckle. After the initial transfer of weight, she manages to take them easily. I'll be off then. Night, Hanako. Good night. See you in class tomorrow. Aww. I'm gonna have to, like, go down her path next. She's just so adorable when she's not screaming at the top of her lungs running away from me. With a deep bow, her groceries still in both hands, she steps back and shuts the door. Making my way back to my own dorm, I put one bag into my other hand to balance them out. Even as I do so, I can't get Lily's light-hearted smile out of my mind. When I'd first met her, it would have been nearly impossible to imagine her like that. Indeed, it feels like we've become closer in the past few weeks since I first got to know both her and Hanako. The time that I spent with her each day, the small exchanges of happiness we share, those small moments of joy as I get closer to her. Oh yeah, no, we're heading down the breaking of the Daijobu. Very, very, very soon. Everything's too pure, guys. Everything is too pure. Imagine, like, she has that trip, right? Where she needs to go and visit her aunt or whatever. Her dying aunt. And there's a lot of things that can happen in 2 weeks. I hope we're not dealing with, like, an arranged marriage type of scenario. I would not. That's a little too anime cliche for me. But, well, we'll keep going. We'll keep going. Let's not speculate on things that haven't happened yet. I'm far from certain, but I don't think these are just the normal feelings of friendship. Oh, alright. He's not a dumb brick. Is this an anime protagonist that doesn't have a dumb brick brain? Oh, man. We're on the road. We're on the road. I was about to say to Viridian City, and I don't know, how many of you guys actually remember that? Like, am I too old now that when I reference, you know, like, the To Be a Master soundtrack, that it's like, oh yeah, that was something that some people have no idea exist? Oh dear. Oh man. Let's try not to think about that. Once I return to my room, I store away my groceries and begin to getting ready for the night. I swap the school books in my bag for those I'll need tomorrow, pulling out the yellow envelope Misha gave me earlier in the process. I got so sidetracked by one thing after another that I couldn't deal with it earlier. Who could have written me, I wonder? The name neatly adorned to the back of the envelope freezes me in my tracks. It's been so long since I've seen her writing. There's little chance I could have identified it as her as otherwise. Iwanako. Oh no. It's the girl that, like, proposed to him and gave him a heart attack. Oh no. Why? Should she have written me? I can't think of any good reason for her to do this. I almost don't open the letter, but there's little point to that. If I just left it alone, its mere existence would gnaw at me until I did something about it. Oh, so he's actually opening the letter. Part of me, like, I've done Emmy's Path. Some of you guys may remember from my original playthrough of this. And I'm fairly sure in Emmy's Path, he didn't open this until the very end. It was one of those things where he, like, put it off and he put it off. Where now he's actually, like, addressing it right as it comes to him. And I actually don't remember why he put it off. Yeah. Oh well, we'll do Emmy's Path eventually, so it'll probably key back in. But this is interesting, actually. I look down at the piece of paper on my desk. It's bright and summery decorations beaming happily at me. The lettering is in pink, jarring badly with the yellow sunflower border on the card. The handwriting is neat, the characters having been written thoughtfully and full of an unusual amount of care. I'd barely give the letter a second thought when it was given to me, but now I can't get its contents out of my mind. Well, I'd like to say that I don't know why she used such an old-fashioned method of communication, considering a phone call or an email email would be both much faster and easier. The answer feels obvious enough given the content. A letter leaves a comfortable distance between the sender and the recipient. Unlike a phone, it isn't required that you engage in conversation, and unlike email, there's less expectation of an immediate reply. Statements such as the third years seem to be very anxious about the final exams, and it's so weird to think we are already seniors, isn't it? Are just small talk that could have been achieved by simply replying to any of the messages I had sent her while in the hospital. The ending, though, is the true reason she sent this. The last couple of lines added almost as an afterthought. I wonder if we will meet again. Perhaps it is for the best if we don't. It's a statement that should hurt. I've always heard breakups are nasty stuff, but it feels like this is simply a reaffirmation of what we both already knew instead. It's the preceding text, no more talk than small talk, that makes me feel more uneasy. I can't figure out why, no matter how long I sit here and look down at this bright and summery piece of paper. If you would like to correspond with me, by all means, write me back. It's plainly obvious that this is not the type of letter to be replied to. In the end, this letter is no more than a simple abdication of responsibility, a final statement to reassure her that our relationship is over. As such, I find that I have little problem with scrunching the letter and envelope into a ball and tossing it into the wastebin, ridding myself of its existence. Interesting. So I know I don't want to go between paths, especially since Emmy's Path isn't up on my channel yet, but he actually learned a lot more from that letter. He didn't just say fuck this letter and throw it in the trash bin. So this is interesting. This is good. I like how Hisao's personality seems to change between the paths. You know, obviously you could be watching this, you know, years down the line, and I already have done Emmy's Path at this point, but you know what I mean, in a sense. I go to bed with mixed feelings, cheating out of a pleasant evening by this intruder from the past. Ironically, it takes a while before I can manage to sleep. Yeah, it is one of those things where getting getting messages from exes or, you know, people that you haven't really talked to in a really, really long time, it's always very jarring. It's not, sometimes it can be really, really bad because that person, you didn't end on really, really good terms with them, or something terrible happened and it sort of pushes things back and forth. But yeah, a lot of it's mixed feelings where, you know, there's a little bit of finality to something that happened, that some things that may or may not have been said or spoken about are now sort of on the table in a sense. But I think the worst of it is when you do get a response from someone that has treated you unfairly or didn't give proper reasons for whatever they did, or you haven't, like, even maybe you as the person contacting that person, right? Is that it doesn't open old wounds per se, but it always cheapens it because it always feels like you're trying to get something for it. Like, in essence, she wrote this message to Asao, and how he interpreted it, though we didn't actually get to read the message, he interprets it as pretty much her just say, absolving her of any responsibility of the actions that she took, right? About not saying anything to him in the hospital and just sort of leaving him there, right? After it's sort of like, well, too bad, I didn't love you that much to stick with you, or in a sense, right? But you know, we're so different now, so everything's different, and like life goes on and everything. It does sort of, it rips that feeling of responsibility off of them, and it does sort of ticks everybody off. It ticks you off because you feel like you're just pushing your own agenda, and then vice versa for the recipient. It feels as if you're just throwing whatever ever other bad feelings are only you now because I've moved on, in sort of like a weird sense, right? Even though, like, by reaching out X number of months afterwards, it cheapens it. It gives that feeling of unfinished business that will never properly be finished because they don't reciprocate. They don't want a back and forth. They just want a finality to it. I don't know. It's very, very difficult. It's very, very difficult to ponder the what ifs of it. But, you know, I don't know. It's just one of those things where, like, I don't think there is a proper answer to it. There ever is. I sweat profusely, awaiting the dreaded moment. Each tick of the clock tenses my muscles that much more, every minute making more my hair stand on end. It's coming for me. I can feel it. Death. Death in form of a single sheet of paper. Oh, God. Jesus. That went from like 1 to 100 and then back to -5 because it's about the test. Yeah. I take the small pile of papers from the student in front of me and pass it backwards after plucking off the top piece. Looking at the top right of the page, I find my fears realized within the small red circle. 43. I hang my head and sigh in resignation. Cursing under my breath, I can feel the aura of a similar sentiment rising from the entire class. It's strange, but that fact lifts my mood by a minuscule amount. Misery loves company, I suppose. As the teacher opens her mouth, the room braces for the inevitable onslaught, only to be saved at the last minute. We quickly move to collect our bags and leave for lunch post-haste, but the teacher delivers a parting broadside. We'll be discussing the test scores next lesson. Needless to say, there will be quite some discussion to be had. A collective groan resounds from the class, not reduced by shuffling out dejectedly. I push the sheet into my bag as I walk along the hallway, crumpling it in the process. It's enough that such a troublesome letter ended up on my desk yesterday, and now this? I hate English. Sao! A stern female voice gruffly calls out from behind me. I freeze on the spot. My face becomes like stone. It's as if I can feel my brain disconnecting from my body. Oh, oh, Jesus. Is it frightening? Oh God, there's frightening music playing. Why? Why is this happening? Well, I guess we'll find out tomorrow. Oh no. Oh no.